I just want to say that every day, 100 Americans die.
Welcome to the May 20th Frankfort Village Board meeting. We call this meeting to order, and we ask our village administrator, Rob Pisha, to take the roll, please.
Mayor Holland.
Here.
Trustee Borelli.
Here.
Trustee Clavio.
Here.
Trustee Farina.
Here.
Trustee Ogle.
Here.
Trustee Petro.
Here.
Trustee Trevarthen is absent. Village clerk is not here. Attorney Lamore.
Here.
Administrator Pisha is here. Assistant Administrator Cook.
Here.
Chief Barika.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic Thank you, Margaret, for working on the flag. Well, while we're working on the flag, the next item on our agenda is what we call the unanimous consent agenda. All items on the unanimous consent agenda are considered routine in nature and will be voted on after a single motion. If any of the trustees want to discuss any of the items on the consent agenda in more detail, we'll just remove them, that item from the consent agenda. So I first ask, do any trustees want to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion by Trustee Ogle and a second by Trustee Petro to approve the consent agenda. We do want the people here in our audience and in the boardroom and in the audience at home on the television or on the internet to know something about the items that we're passing, and there are very few this evening, but we will go over each one of them just briefly. So the first one is the approval of the minutes of our last regular meeting, which took place on May 6th. The second item is the approval of the bills, and we'll go to our Finance Committee Chairperson, Adam Borelli, for a report on the bills.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, the bills total $574,290.88. The bulk of that is in from the Capital Development Fund, $275,544.92. And if you dig into there, a big chunk of that is going to PT Faro, and that's for resurfacing we did last year. This is the retainer payment that we hold back to make sure that they finish out their contract. There's also $43,808 in there for mosquito abatement. So the village provides that service to all. We spray the public areas, and this is the first of two treatments, or the first of two payments that we're making. And I also wanted to pull out, because we also approved the payroll separately, and that's substantially higher than most approvals, because there's back pay for the local 150 union employees. The recently approved contract was retroactive from May 1st, 2018. And so and those employees were not given a pay raise because they were in contract negotiations. And now that the contract has been signed, this is to retroactively pay them for their new wages that are included in that agreement. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. And we have one item from our Plan Commission, and we'll go to Trustee Clavio for a report on that item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is a little interesting this evening because, at least it's a first for me since I've been on the board. Many people don't realize that even properties that are not in Frankfort, the Village of Frankfort still has some oversight of them. And this is one of those particular properties that this property falls within 1.5 miles of the city limits of the Village of Frankfort. So the county forces the applicants to actually come to the village to have the village weigh in on the development and make sure and trying to recommend and encourage them to follow as many of the village ordinances as possible. So before us tonight, Mr. Mayor, is the LaGrange Garden subdivision, which is located at 24149 South LaGrange Road. They currently own a 9.4 acre unincorporated parcel, and they're looking to subdivide that to provide for 2 parcels to create additional developable industrial lot out there. They came before the Plan Commission on May 9th, and the Plan Commissioners unanimously recommended to the Village Board approve the final plat for LaGrange Garden with recommendations to be as close to the village standards as possible. So the motion before us tonight, Mr. Mayor, is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation and approve the final plat for the LaGrange Garden subdivision located at 24149 South LaGrange Road in unincorporated Green Garden Township, prepared by M. Gingerich, Giroux and Associates, last revised December 20th, 2017, and recommend the county require the access drive to the second lot be paved and a site lighting plan compliant with the Village of Frankfort's zoning standards be provided in connection with any site development permit issued in the subdivision. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, John, and those are all of the items on our consent agenda this evening. So before the trustees vote on those items, is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to the village board about those items or about any one of them? Any questions or comments from the trustees? Then we'll go to our village administrator again, Rob Pisha, for the vote.
Trustee Borelli? Yes. Trustee Clavio?
Yes.
Trustee Farina?
Yes.
Trustee Ogle?
Yes.
Trustee Petro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next item on our agenda is what we call the mayor's report, and we have a number of items on the mayor's report. The first one is a proclamation concerning the United States Census. Every 10 years, this country counts the people in it. That's in our Constitution that we need to do that. And the count is very important to our country and, frankly, to the people of Frankfort to make sure that we get everyone counted in our village. We have a number of funding sources that are based on population, and it's not based on somebody's estimate of the population. It's based on that every 10-year census, and that's the population of Frankfort that's used for calculating how much revenue we receive from motor fuel taxes, revenue from what's called the Local Government Distributive Fund, and it has to do with, of course, our representation in the State Assembly, the State Senate, the United States Congress, and the United States Senate. So important indeed. And what we have is a proclamation supporting the 2020 census through the formulation of a complete count committee in the village of Frankfort. And I would entertain a motion to approve that proclamation.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Village of Frankfort open house tour scheduled for May 22nd. Well, that's coming up this Wednesday, and that will be a fun event indeed. We will have this building open, but that's not so exciting. But the police station will be open for people to come in and see what the police station looks like. You can see how clean we keep the jail and how what a nice place it is to visit. You can see the Public Works building. You can come on down to the sewer plant, of all things, the large sewer plant behind Lincoln Way East High School. That will be open. The pumping station and big water tank out on Route 30 will be open to the public. These are all going to be open 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock this Wednesday. And frankly, it's your property. It's your buildings, it's your facilities, and at least once a year it just seems appropriate that the people of Frankfort be able to come out and see some of these properties and see what's in them. Memorial Day celebration will be on Monday, Memorial Day, May 27th. This is run by essentially the VFW in Frankfort, but the village works with them, and so does the Hickory Creek Middle School Band. It's a very nice ceremony indeed. There's a very short parade, and then there are a couple of short speeches. The band plays. There's the flag ceremonies where the flags go to half-staff. Something nice to come out for and give some thought to those veterans who have served our country. The spring market continues in historic downtown Frankfort. Even last Sunday in the rain, there was a pretty good crowd there. And the summer market begins June 3rd. The difference in the summer market is the hours are a little longer. They go from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And by June 3rd, we start getting more fresh produce. Our market is a true farmer's market. The products that are sold there need to be grown within 150 miles of Frankfort. And there aren't very many things coming out of the ground yet. Just asparagus. I got a couple things of asparagus last Sunday. Young Angler Fishing Derby is scheduled for June 15th. That's always a fun event for children 3 o'clock to 12 o'clock. We do ask that people register in advance at the village because we only have so much room at Prairie Park Pond for people to fish. And there are prizes that are given out, and the kids enjoy it. My grandson has taken a part in that event now for some 8 years, and He's going to take part again this year, so I'm very pleased. A quick comment about aggregation. The new ComEd rates have come out for the summer, and they will go into about January of next year, and we don't know what the rates will be then, but the ComEd rates continue to be slightly lower than the aggregation rates. You can get out of the aggregation program in the Village of Frankfort by calling one phone number. It's a very simple process, and we'll get word out to people about that again. And frankly, I got out of the aggregation program. You're in the aggregation program unless you elect to get out of it. So you're paying a slightly higher rate. It could be in January you'll pay a lower rate with the aggregation program. In the past, it saved our residents a lot of money. Right now, it's not saving you money, and you can get out, and then you can get back in. So kind of an interesting situation there. I would remind the board that starting with our next meeting, starting after Memorial Day, we go to casual clothing. And typically it's announced by our clerk, but he's not here tonight, so, or we don't have one right now. It's our issue. So I thought I would just mention that. And finally, I have one thing to say for people in our community. During 3 village board meetings in the last couple of years, I have spoken out against criminal gun violence in our society. Several people have asked me to comment about the issue again, and some of those people are here in the audience, and thank you for attending tonight. Our society needs to find better ways to keep guns out of the hands of people who will commit criminal acts with those guns. Here in Frankfort, we have a number of programs that are designed to deter violence, in particular gun violence. For instance, all of our police officers are trained on a regular basis about how to recognize people with mental problems and then how to get help for those people. Our police department provides DARE training to every student at Frankfort School District 157C in the 5th grade. DARE helps children make better decisions as they grow up. In addition, our schools have strong anti-bullying policies and programs like the high school's ASSET program that again help people make better decisions. Our park districts provide all residents with a full range of programs that provide positive life experiences. Our churches, our service clubs, and other organizations also help provide positive life experiences for our residents. Next year, with a portion of the additional funding provided by the people of Frankfort through the sales tax referendum, we will have a police officer assigned to our grade schools. And our police department provides the most up-to-date training to our schools about how to handle potentially violent incidents. The most important thing, though, that each of us can do to help prevent criminal violent acts in our community is for each one of us to keep our eyes and ears open to signs of potential criminal violent activity. If we see or hear something that indicates criminal violence, we need to say something. Let the police, the school, or a social service agency know what you are seeing or hearing and let them investigate. Each one of us needs to do our part to help prevent violence in our society. And that concludes the mayor's report, and we'll go to our police chief, John Barica, for the police department report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And you're exactly right with the see something, say something. It's something we preach all the time, and those are some of the best ways to stop any criminal activity, not just gun violence. But when people see somebody that has issues or concerns, whether mental health or anything else, let us know, and we can always find social sources, resources to help them out. We prefer to get those calls ahead of time so we can help them out, because sometimes it's just a simple misunderstanding or a simple problem that we can help them solve. Besides that, we'd also like to talk about some other things going on in town right now, which are phone scams. ComEd phone scams are coming around again, and some IRS ones where they're calling up and claiming, of course, that your bill's overdue or you owe taxes. Neither of those companies will demand instant payment over the phone, and they do not use gift cards as forms of payment. So if you get that call, let us know, and we'll look into that. Also a reminder about the severe weather. Obviously, we've seen over the last couple weeks the weather changing drastically, and storms, including some tornadoes, will touch down a little bit southwest of us. But good time to review with your family and friends on what you should do when severe weather comes along. Review those practices and when to get shelter and get out of the open air. Also, we'd like to remind people that we do have an internet purchase location at the PD. If people buy things on the internet or use that for exchange of anything, we see an uptick in that, but it is under video surveillance, and it's on the south side of our police department. It can be used at any time. Obviously, it's pretty well lit and video surveillance, but the police are always coming in and out, so a good, safe place to go. Finally, reminding people, make sure you put your garage doors down at night, lock your cars, and take your keys and keys fobs out of your cars before you go to bed. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, John. And now for the village administrator's report, we go to our village administrator, Rob Pisha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to remind residents the progress on St. Francis Road, or right now a lack of progress because of weather-related delays, but it is still moving forward. Just want to let everybody know that the lane closure is scheduled for the second or third week of June. There should be message boards up a week in advance notifying everybody of the actual closure. But just be aware of that during almost the entire construction season, St. Francis Road will be down to one lane with a signal controlling traffic in the east-west direction. So you may want to find an alternate route during this construction season. Also, we were notified that Cook County is planning on resurfacing Harlem Avenue from Steger Road to Laraway Road. This is a full surface overlay, so they'll be grinding and patching. They have the start date sometime in May and the end date in October. I think they're just saying it's sometime during this construction season it's going to happen. So just be aware that during this year, that area is scheduled to be resurfaced. So again, you may want to find another route in case you're going in that direction. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Rob. And now our village attorney's report. We go to Hannah Lamore, the village attorney.
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Hannah. And now it's time for what we call other business, and this evening we'll start with Trustee Clavio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ditto. No, oh, sorry, can't say that today. First, I want to wish everyone a happy, safe Memorial Day that will come to before our next board meeting. Thank you, Hannah, for an excellent presentation there. I will personally attest to the fact that your office has always been available for any questions that we have or concerns, and you've always been, upfront and given us fantastic advice. So thank you, because it's important that with conflicts of interest that we not get involved in. They may not be conflicts. A lot of times they just seem to be conflicts, and it's even worth a phone call for that as well. The last thing I wanted to cover, Mr. Mayor, is to just welcome our 2 new police officers. The chief's been busy. We've got Jessica and Kevin on our force now. They need to go through training and finish everything up, but it's good to see that even though we haven't received the sales tax dollars, we're spending them already. So welcome, Jessica, and welcome, Kevin. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Good point, John. Thanks for bringing that up. And Trustee Petro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am looking forward to attending the Village Open House and excited about the staff putting that together. It's great to see the faces in the buildings that support all of the services that we do enjoy here in Frankfort, so I'd encourage residents to join me in that open house. Also, just want to finally wish everyone a nice holiday weekend in observation of Memorial Day. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Jessica. Trustee Farina.
Thank you, Mayor Holland. I just want to acknowledge the Frankfort Police Department for the invite for Citizens Police Academy last Thursday. The topic was traffic stops. It was very enlightening. And Sergeant Leanne Bender from the Frankfort Police Department helps facilitate that program, and it's a great resource for citizens here in Frankfort to participate in annually. I also want to share that at our last meeting, we approved committee assignments, and one of my assignments was a new position, which is a District 157C liaison position. And I had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Morazzini, Superintendent of Schools, to discuss the future of this position and the communications between the village and the school district in relation to social emotional learning and cultural awareness. Chief Barik and I, we also touched base. We want to see the school resource officer, Officer Riff, successful in his outreach with students and building relationships. So this is going to be an ongoing journey as we continue to work with one another in the different entities. Finally, I do want to acknowledge Memorial Day and those who made the ultimate sacrifice for this great nation of ours, and I look forward to observing it this Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. And Trustee Ogle.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that Trustee Farina downplayed her participation in the training exercise. We were out there the other night. She was awesome and incredible. But our police are very well trained. It's very important for our residents, and I think it's important to the board to have an understanding of what our police do go through, the challenges that they face out there, both because of the political climate and the legal issues, as well as there are dangerous people out there in the world. It's a very dangerous job. If you get the opportunity to go through the Citizens Police Academy, I went through a couple years ago, and I would highly recommend that it fills up very quickly. I would sign up for it. You may have some misconceptions about what police work is all about, but I'm very proud of our police. And they operate with integrity and honesty, and they are well trained, and it's important for the board to make sure that they are properly equipped and trained to go out there. Also, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day, but also it's an observance of those who have sacrificed. And finally, to wish Henry Francis an happy 83rd birthday today. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. And Trustee Borelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Citizens Academy is on my bucket list. It's not a matter of if, it's just when. So I will get there. I mentioned the mosquito abatement in the bills. I wanted to let residents know that they usually spray at night. So if you want a courtesy heads up that they're coming to put up your windows, you could just contact the village, and they will provide that courtesy heads up, at 24-hour notice. So please, if you're interested, just contact the village, and we'll let you know. Also, with respect to lawn maintenance, I recently had someone ask me about a lawn. Obviously it's the growing season, grass is growing fast. If someone's not maintaining their lawn and it's becoming an issue, please let us know. Our code enforcement is really complaint-based, so if you don't say anything, it'll probably just keep growing there. So just please let us know, and we'll take care of it right away. Obviously, the Memorial Day ceremony, the VFW, Mayor Holland do a great job with that. It's been great. It's a great, profound, or just it's a good thing to go to, and I hope people come out on Monday to that. Cleaning up my clerk duties, we did have a 15.3% turnout for the village in the most recent election, so slightly above the Will County turnout of like approximately 13%. So still very low. I wish more people would come out to these consolidated elections, but it is what it is. Hopefully it grows in the future. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. And that brings us to the part of our meeting we call public comments. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to make a comment to the village board tonight? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.